everybody, my name is Mars, you can call me MG if you'd like, and today I have for you my February TBR video. I have been thinking a lot about the books that I will be reading in February, and now we still do have about 10 days left in January at the time that I'm filming this, but I'm getting to the end of my January TBR, so I'll be doing a little bit more mood reading, and I am just in a planning mood, so we're gonna do February's TBR today. There are 3 different ways that I pick out my TBR for the month. Technically 4 now, but one of them we will not be talking about in this video because it gets its own separate vlog, but let's just get right into things. So the first thing there is to talk about is the number of book clubs that I'm in, and it is 2 this year. I did take that down a notch. I was in 3 book clubs last year. It was a little bit much. We have 2, the first of which is the Nostalgia Train book club, which is run by my dear friend Violet, and I've been participating in it for many, many years now. The February pick is Shatter Me by Tahereh Mafi, and honestly, I'm not super interested in reading this book. I was very bookish all throughout growing up. I remember when this book came out and the hype it received then, and I know my childhood best friend was so in love with the series. It never really interested me. It still doesn't really. If I find myself later on in the month with nothing to read and it is readily available through like Libby or something, I will pick it up just because I want to participate in the book club. But if that doesn't happen and I don't end up reading it, that is perfectly fine. I am like not upset if I don't get to this book. The other book club is my own that I started last year, and that is the Honeybee Society book club, where we read one Dark Academia book every other month, or I guess it's every 2 months, because you do get the 2 full months to read it. I don't know, I'm still working a little bit on the wording of things, but the pick for January and February is, which I put too far away from me, but it is Blood Over Brighthaven by M.L. Wong. I am so excited to be reading this. I will try and squeeze it in this month. I know I said I was mood reading, so I do have like wiggle room, but I kind of have a few other things that have my attention, and this I do technically have February to read it as well, so if I don't get to it by the end of January, obviously I will be reading it in February, and I will have a vlog for this as I do with all of the picks for my book club. I'm just very excited to get to this. Our first 2 picks that we had last year were not fantasy Dark Academia, they were just straight up Dark Academia with like mystery type elements to it. This is the first fantasy Dark Academia that we have had, and I cannot wait. I'm so excited to get to this, so again, I said if I don't get to it in January, it will be one of the first books I pick up in February, so look forward to that vlog. The second way that I pick out my TBR for the month is with Herkyed. If you don't know what Herkyed is, it stands for the hardest reading challenge you'll ever do. It is run by Q over on the channel QWERTY, and it is basically a bingo board of challenges, and I have only completed 3 of them. One of which is adaptations, which I didn't do any reading for anyway. Well, that's a lie. I did a little bit of reading, but it was mostly like watching things that were adapted from books, so I am feeling like I'm falling behind, even though I'm not, because I have made a lot of progress in the other challenges. Most of them I only have like 1, 2, or 3 books left to read for them, but it will make me feel a lot better if I can check those off, because this challenge does run from July to June every year, so I only have, at the start of February, it will be 5 months to complete the rest of these challenges. So I have my jar here that has the names of all of the challenges in them, and I will pick 3 to focus on. If I don't get to like make any progress in them this month, that is fine, but if I have a spare couple of days and I can squeeze another book in there, I will focus on books that come from whatever challenge I pull out of this jar. So I did leave out the 3 slips that I pulled in January, so we're not going to focus on the same ones every single month, which I mean kind of would make sense because then I could actually finish them, but I do make progress on the Herkyed books outside of the ones that I pull from this jar. This is just a little bit more of an incentive to make that progress. So we're going to, I probably should have left the lid on to shake it, but it's fine. Give it a little shake and pull 3 slips. We've got 2 here, so we'll do those 2, and we'll do this one. So we have, oh, fun, the disability challenge. I don't know how many I have left for this one. I think maybe only one. No, I have two. I have two books left to read, one of which I might read by the end of January because it also covers Heritage Months, because you can double up and do one book for two prompts. And Heritage Month is one of the slips that I pulled in January. So if I do read that book in January, then I'll only have one left for the disability books. If not, I have two. So that's fun. I've got, oh, I did actually pull multiple. Oh gosh, I'm dropping them all. These two were stuck together, so technically I did pull three out on my first go. But we'll do these two, and I'll put this other one back in the jar. We won't even look at it to see what could have been. This is what I'm deciding. So we have, besides the disability challenge, we've got subgenres. Ooh, this is gonna be fun. I have two left for these, for this one, I know. One of which is The Night and the Moth, which I've just been itching to read because I loved the Shepherd King duology by Rachel Gillig, and the sequel to The Night and the Moth is coming out in September, and I know I'm gonna love that. So I have that, but I also have the third Fallen Gods, that's the name of the series, book by Hannah Kaner in the subgenres category, and that's one I'm also very excited to get to. So this is a very good one to pull. And then the third one that I have is, oh, the Rainbow Challenge. Okay, this is one that I definitely have the most options for. I believe I've got like 5 or 6 left to complete the rainbow, because there's like 13 total for the Rainbow Challenge. So I've got many things to choose from, and maybe they'll overlap with the other ones. I truly don't remember. I don't have every single book for every single prompt memorized, but I do look at my spreadsheet enough that I have quite a few of them in my brain. But yeah, lots of options for this one. Hopefully I'll be able to fit something in at some point for this challenge. And the final way that I will be picking out my books for February is with this deck of cards, which is technically like half of the deck, but I've been leaving out the cards that I've pulled over the past year so that we can get to other ones. This is the Empress deck, Adventurer's Tarot from Weirdworks. Lot of words there. It's not technically a tarot, it's technically an oracle. It's just called the Adventurer's Tarot. I saw recently that they reprinted this in like slightly modified designs, which is pretty sick. I've had this for many, many years now. I bought this at PAX Unplugged several years ago when I saw this at their booth that they had there, and I am very happy to own it, but I am rambling. There are 103 cards in this deck, obviously less so now. They have different prompts assigned to them. I'm gonna pull 3 cards and just find books that fit those prompts. Pretty simple concept. I feel like card game TBR games are not very rare. So I did shuffle before I started filming, but I will split the deck as well, just so you know I'm not like cheating and putting certain cards on top. We'll go here, why not? So the first card that we have for February is the Ally. Fun. I also really love this because purple is my favorite color, and this is a mostly purple card. The second card we've got is the Monk. Okay, another class card. And finally, our third card for February, the Elemental. Ooh, so there are 2 different types of cards in here. There are what I call class cards, and then there are enemy cards. Class cards are like the Monk and the Ally, where there are 2 versions of the same card, so I have 2 prompts associated with it. If I've already pulled a card and have used that prompt, I have to go with the other one. If not, I get to choose which one I want. And then cards like the Elemental are enemy cards, where they come in a set. So there's like the Elemental, 2 of Elementals, 3 of Elementals, 4 of Elementals, and the prompts for those cards all follow a specific theme. So I am going to consult my spreadsheet that I have of all of the different prompts. I'm going to pick out some books, and then I'm going to come back and talk to you about them. Okay, friends, I am back. I will admit, when I first saw what prompts these cards were associated with, I got a little bit scared, but it was actually a lot easier to find books that fit them than I thought it would be, and I'm very happy with the books that I put into these prompts. So, the first one we pulled was the Ally, and this was the one that really scared me. So this has 2 options, like I said. This card is either to pick a book written by an author tuber or to read a self-published book, but I have already pulled this card's counterpart in the past and used the self-published book prompt, so I had to pick a book by an author tuber, and I looked at my shelves, my TBR cart specifically, and I was like, I don't know who any of these people are, if they make YouTube videos or what. And then I remembered Brandon Sanderson has a YouTube channel, so he counts as an author tuber, and I am slowly kind of almost sort of making my way through the Cosmere. It's not like this big endeavor for me. I'm kind of just dipping in and out when I fancy. So I have read the entirety of the Mistborn books, so I've read Era 1 and Era 2. Love them so much. And I was like, you know what? Let's go for a standalone. I was thinking of Elantris at first, but technically it's not a standalone. It does have a sequel, like, short story, and also will be getting 2 more books to make it a trilogy at some point in the future. Goodreads says 2030 for the book 2 release date, but I was like, let's just avoid that mess. Let's go with a true standalone, and I will be reading Warbreaker, which is quite large. According to my ebook app, it is over 600 pages, and seeing as I bump up the font size when I read ebooks because I'm blind, it's gonna be so long, but that's fine. I am very excited for this. I don't read enough fantasy standalones, so I'm excited about that. Also, I really like stories about siblings, and this follows 2 sisters, and I didn't read the full blurb, but it said something about, like, one of them having to marry a god, and there was, like, another lesser god who hates his job. All this stuff happening. I'm like, that sounds very fun, and I know I love Brandon Sanderson's writing style, so I'm excited to get into that. So that is the first book I will be assigning to these cards. The second card that I pulled was The Monk, and this, like I said, has 2 options, neither of which I've used before, and technically the book that I've picked fits both, but the options are a book that is part of a duology, or a book where I don't own the rest of the series, and I have gone with the duology prompt, even though it could fit both, but the book that I will be reading is The Night and the Moth by Rachel Gillig, and I almost just hit myself in the face with it. But this, like I said, is the first book in a duology, and it's one that I've been wanting to read pretty much since it came out, because I read One Dark Window and Two Twisted Crowns last, I want to say June, July, and I think this came out in July? Is it gonna say? Hold on. Let's see if the... That's so pretty. I never looked at that. I got this for Christmas, so I am very excited to read it, because I try to read Christmas gift books very early in the year, and I have not been successful the past couple of years, but... Oh, this came out in May of 2025. Okay, so a little bit earlier than I thought, but I was still reading her other duology around the time this came out, so I remember the hype, and I want to join in on it. So I'm very excited to be reading this. The third and final card that I pulled was The Elemental, and the prompt for this, as you can probably guess from this card, is a book with fire on the cover or in the title, and wouldn't you know it, Blood Over Brighthaven has this big old fire in the middle. So that is kind of serendipitous, if I do say so. So I guess I won't be reading this in January, but I will be picking it up in February, and I'm very excited. This is a very fantasy-heavy TBR for my Herkied prompt focuses. I will try and fit some non-fantasy things if I can, based on the books that I've chosen for those prompts, just to get a little bit of variety. Maybe I'll try and get some horror in there. I do have, for the other game that I will be playing that you won't be seeing in this video, you'll see its own separate vlog, I've got a little bit of variety in there to take away from how fantasy heavy this TBR has turned out. So I think it will be a lovely reading month. I'm looking forward to literally every single book on the TBR, which, like, I don't really put books that I'm not looking forward to on TBRs, but sometimes the prompts make it so that I have to pick books that I'm not very excited for in the moment, but I'm literally so excited for every single one of these books in the moment. So it's going to be a little bit hard for me to decide which ones I read first and which ones have to wait a little bit, but That is a problem for me in a couple of weeks once February hits. For now, we have come to the end of this video. If you've enjoyed it, be sure to give it a big thumbs up. You can subscribe to my channel for more content, and that way I will see you guys in the next one. Bye, everyone.